yourself!
Welcome back to the Titanium Hangar. This is Mike, and today I want to take a look at the MechFansToys Perceptor, and this is the KO of the Magic Square. Now, this one's different than most of the MechFansToys ones. I'm going to tell you about the differences, and actually the biggest difference is actually smaller, and we're going to discuss this. I did get to show Z. You can get yours there too, and I'll have a link down below. So let's get into looking at this guy, and is it better or is it worse than Magic Square? We'll find out. Give it up. Here's the box, and it just kind of feels like a cheap box, but the artwork looks nice. That is a nice looking Perceptor. On the side, you actually see the figure, and that's everything that comes in the box, the two guns and Perceptor, and you get all the modes. There's the box. All right, so let's start out with this one in the alt mode, since we went the opposite direction last time, and it looks pretty good. It gets the job done. It's a nice little Microscope, advanced scientist. I was looking, and I'm not sure if there's a way to clean the back up a little better than I did, but again, you don't really display it from the back so much, but that would probably be my only real complaint with it. There's not a ridiculous amount of paint on it. In fact, there's very little, but there is paint right here. There's paint right here on the dials. There's paint on the tip and all that kind of stuff. I actually think these are molded, different molded plastic, the black pieces, than the red, so that's kind of cool too. So that's a nice little touch, and so paint won't be wearing there. And it's got some treads on the bottom and stuff, just like the Magic Square. Everything's a lot like the Magic Square, except there are a couple of little differences I'll be pointing out when we do a comparison in the bot mode, because all this translates and carries over. Let's do some comparisons. So here it is compared to Mr. Moon, and you know what? I was watching my video from the Magic Square one, and I left the Mr. Moon comparison out. I don't know, it just didn't make the cut somehow, and it's kind of a wonky one. This is weapon storage. And I'm not really sure about weapon storage on this guy. I don't think it exists, but here we go from the back. So the head's just kind of hanging out. It's kind of covered up there. So, I mean, the Mr. Moon one never was great, but it was decent on my shelf for a few years. Here it is next to a G1 Perceptor, and I have like 5 Perceptors. I think I'm going to piece together the perfect one, because this one's kind of raggedy, but it's got some good parts and stuff like that. Anyway, G1, so much bigger. Sometimes these legends, or even the MechFansToys legends, are about the same size as the vintage. Here he's compared to Mini Me. Let's look at this Mini Me here. Yeah, that's X-Transbot's Mini Me. Right, so we are going to get this guy transformed up, so the opposite direction of the last one, make it kind of worthwhile here. So folding this out, I'm going to fold the foot out. This piece here comes out so we can get the heel spur out, and then fold all of this back in, and then we need to pull this around and like so. And I think in alt mode, no, it didn't matter. Okay, same thing on this other side over here, and so on one side, I guess this tucked in. It wasn't really supposed to tuck in, I guess, but anyway, it's not that big of a deal. And somehow I went a little bit further. It's almost like a double joint right here, or maybe I just hyperextended that joint, so that was a little strange. Straighten this toe, get that done. Fold down and around on this. We have the legs done. That's good stuff right there. And then to the back, we're going to disconnect these pieces. Disconnect. No disconnect. No disassemble. I guess you have to disassemble every time. So this tabs in, so it untabs. Fold this down and out. Lift this all up so that we can have build his shoulders. We need to get his head out of here. So let me unfold these tabs in the back, which will probably be working like a little push pin on his head, and we are going to reassemble all of this. So get his shoulders in place, these come tab down, this goes up in place, arms go into place, this piece here spins around. Quit messing with the environment there. Okay, so when you take this piece down, You need to decide which side you want it on. So we're going to put it on this side. And there's a very specific reason I wanted that, because Magic Squares is on the opposite side. So you can take this down, fold this up, and around. This seems like a real delicate armature because it's real small. And it only has a point of articulation here. It swivels on this, and it's ball jointed there. So you can't go every which direction. So don't force it. Be gentle with it and take your time. All right, now we have the easiest part, the hands. Just pull the hands out. Watch me say the easiest, it doesn't come out. If you ever get a hand stuck, like on these legends, not so much on an articulated one, but one of the tricks I found if you have a hand stuck is you could just use the gun's handle to get it out. And if you break your handle doing that, don't blame me, okay? All right, so here he is. Let's take a quick look at him. So obviously I like this guy and I like the way he looks because I liked the Magic Square. And with it, a couple of things to look at. There is his head sculpt. There are no additional heads included in this, so not that I see. I just checked and I don't see any additional heads or anything, which I don't mind. I don't really need to swap out different faces and stuff on my Legends figures. I'm pretty happy with it the way it comes. But quick articulation, head side to side. It's on a ball joint, so you can look up. You know, what's that? And then over here, past the 90, you've got the bicep swivel. You do have a double jointed. That is nice. Real double jointed right there. And then you just have the swivel on the hand, and it's no articulation in the fingers. You do have, I believe you still have the Magic Square signature Magic Square ab crunch, swivel, all that stuff. Una flap in the front, which it's Legends, I give it a pass. I wouldn't want a Legends to have that many tiny pins in it. So that far forward, that far back, out to the... this is one thing we're going to start noticing about better than Magic Square. That holds tight. And then Universal, whatever, right there. There's a double jointed knee. All you'd want somewhat breaks the sculpt. So, but you can get what you need out of it. Down here with the toes, you saw all the articulation stuff you can do with all that during transformation, but it's not, the toes aren't that articulated, but it still works pretty good. And for accessories, he does have this red sniper rifle, which doesn't have any paint on it at all. And it also has this nice little stand, so he doesn't have to hold it, and it'll have a nice, precise shot. And let's see, what exactly would Perceptor be shooting at? Beachcomber. Perceptor's got really good at sniping. He plays Call of Duty, so there is his other gun, little pistol, and looks good. So let's go ahead and start doing some comparisons. So getting a comparison, this is Magic Square, this is MechFansToys. And so before we just get into aesthetically different, there's a few minor changes to it. I want to show you this. This thing is pretty solid. This does this. So whatever's happened from the MechFansToys side of things, from Magic Square to MechFansToys, MechFansToys is way more solid. It feels real solid. I picked this guy up and his legs like to move. And I just kind of lived with it, but I don't have to live with it anymore because now I have MechFansToys. Next, they seem to be the exact same size. Now I'm trying to figure out where the difference is. The head looks a little, I don't know if I got enough light on it, but trying to focus on both of these at the same time is kind of tough, but let's see if I can do that. The head looks a little bit bigger on the MechFansToys than it does on the Magic Square. Although it might just be an optical illusion, they might be exactly the same size. I'm not going to be popping and swapping parts on these or anything, but it just looks like it's a little bit bigger of a head, but everything else looks exactly the same. And I did go around and kind of like one for one, side for side. Somehow that didn't tab in all the way. Okay. But I tried to go around and look and see size for size. Everything just looks exactly the same size. So usually MechFansToys is KO oversized. That's kind of how they get around all this stuff. And I don't really know all of the inner workings and behind the scenes with all this. But getting into some aesthetic changes, I think it's a slightly different blue on this guy Both blues appeal to me the same way. The biggest change that I noticed between these is the dial. It's just a black piece of plastic here, but it's painted silver on the MechFansToys. So I think that's a nice added touch, and that makes it just a little bit better and homages the G1. Aside from that, everything else is really the same. Looking at the back here, and I did swap, so you can have this on either side, on either one of them. So I did kind of swap the sides. First I did that side. I don't want to get them confused and mixed up, but now that I kind of know the differences, that's not going to happen. Does seem like a slightly different shade of red, but look at this. On the Magic Square one, let's get a close look here. This is a darker red, this piece, than the rest of the leg. If you can see that, you can see that. On the MechFansToys, it's all uniform colored. So that's, I don't know, I'd say mind-blowing in a way. And I actually think Magic Square is doing a painted version, so that would be nice. If they do a painted version, then all the tolerances will probably get fixed because that extra layer of paint. So who knows, but still, I like MechFansToys better than the original, which it came from. So here he is next to Mini-Me that came with X-Transbots, but through the power of camera tricks I learned from George Lucas, no, not Vaseline on the lens, that's just normal. I'm gonna make them look the same size. Really kind of a cool inclusion with X-Transbots, just kind of fun to show comparison of this stuff. And here he is next to Mr. Moon. I think Mr. Moon, hold up, he's missing this. So Mr. Moon, I think he was made by the same people that do MechFansToys. I mean, that's just kind of the feel I get from it, the Hot Toys stuff that was out. Maybe I'm wrong. See, I wasn't around back in the day, so I didn't really know, so I'm kind of backtracking a bit. But still, looking at all of this stuff here, I think that Mr. Moon was okay for the time, but Magic Square just blows him away. So we go with a nice little group shot of all the Perceptors just hanging out. Looks good. Perceptor sure is getting a lot of love these days. There's still the mainline one coming for Hasbro, and that one looks good. So yeah, if you like Perceptor, you must be in heaven right now. And how he compares with your collection right now. Magic Square, this is Toy World Whiskey Jack, I believe. This is New Age, Jones, and this is Magic Square right here. So that's kind of how he could fit in with some of those. Didn't get too crazy with this comparison. Probably could have done a nice 86 movie scene. So this has been the MechFansToys Perceptor, and yes, his name is Perceptor on the box, and I think it says something else in the listing. But it's a big improvement from the Magic Square. It's not even KO oversized. I think the head's a little bigger. I think that it's a pretty good figure, so he got a big head. But it works. It transforms just right. The joints are stiff. There's a little bit of extra added paint. There's not much paint, but a little bit of extra added paint to it. And overall, I think it looks good. It's a great addition to a collection, and it's cheaper than Magic Square. So win-win, win-win-win all the way around on this figure. If you don't have it, go to shows. You have a link down below where you can get yours. Like and subscribe. But you're hang around. So, Mr. Moon and Magic Square. Okay, you guys, you have a new assignment. Have you ever heard of Macari?
Hey, Perceptor! What's shaking other than this fortress?
Blaster! Ultra Magnet sends orders to contact Optimus Prime on Moonbase 1.
I fear the wounds are fatal.